Let's go. Welcome to JL Season 5 Round 2 in Circuito Cristais, made by Danimator. And we're starting off with qualifying here. Let's take a look at how our drivers will line up for the race, starting their first lap. Our first race winner, oh, a bit of lag, that's not good. Our first race winner in Central Park last week was Tomatoes, who dominated the race, but we also did not have as many people as we have today. We had 11 drivers last week, and I think one of them did not finish the race. Meanwhile, today we've got 15 drivers. I think that's a full grid, or nearly a full grid full of JL teams, and Tomatoes is on provisional pole. What a lap. He's over 2/10 ahead of Emma Box, currently in second. BK is debuting today. He's currently in 5th qualifying spot, so that's a pretty good start for him. We'll see how it goes. I do not know if anyone else is debuting. It doesn't look like it. I think we had Hyper Mustang, fight for a podium last week. He did not manage to get it in the end, I think. I'm not sure, but Tomatoes improves, and Mr. Crunk is up to second at the current moment in qualifying. He's passed Emma Box and Trixie. Hyper Mustang up into professional third as the drivers take their final lap here. Let's see, what can Mr. Crunk pull out on the final straight? He does not improve, but it's enough to secure him second place. Tomatoes is on pole position, and we've got Hyper starting from third. Tully and Cesar get ahead of Emma Box. Then Joe Porsche will be starting tied from 7 with BK. And then we have Trixie starting from 9th, Ikolowski starting from 10th. Juan 11th, Game on Goose 12th, El Carino will be 13th, Mascabrevas 14th, and Fox starting from 15th. So, time for the race, 22 laps. Don't forget to put on the goddamn rain. Thanks me for the reminder. Can Tomatoes get a second victory running? Can Mr. Crunk challenge him? Or maybe Hyper Mustang? Mr. Crunk did not have such a great race last week. He did not finish it. So hopefully he will be able to finish this one. Race time. Good luck, have fun all. Let's see. Tomatoes opting for mediums. And 5 lights, and away we go. Tomatoes in front currently. Crunk opted for mediums. Hyper and Tully did not, and they both get past him. Hyper already fighting Tomatoes for the lead here. Tully's also in there, but hits a bit of grass, falls back, and in those early turns, oh, Tomatoes forced off a bit there, and Hyper Mustangs definitely got a lead now, but BK and Tully are rushing towards him to try and take it. Cesar there as well. Hyper's just keeping it in front, but on this final straight, it's a bit of a long straight going into turn 1, which is also a bit tricky to get right, and now BK uses that to get in front on his debut. He is in 1st place right now. Tomatoes fallen down to 4th, but still holding on to that place. Mr. Crunk down in 7th. BK makes a mistake. Hyper Mustangs back in front for the race lead here. BK's looking, oh, and they get into a lag rocket. Oh, that's disastrous for them both. This allowed Cesar and Tomatoes to catch right back up and get past them, and now they're the ones fighting for the race lead. Tomatoes goes a bit cautious there, hits grass, and loses a bit of time to Cesar, but not enough for it to matter too much. Cesar holding down first for Zekis' JL team. BK And Tomatoes got past him, and it's another looks to be lag rocket that happened between Cesar and BK there. The debutant is looks to be a bit inexperienced in driving. It's expected that sometimes you'll have incidents like this. Tomatoes, after a bit of a bad start, he's back into first. And he's looking good for it. Cesar is out of slipstream right now, so if he can just keep going without any mistakes, he might run away. Here, let's see. Rest of the grid. Cesar currently in second, but Hyper Mustang is very close behind him right now. Maybe looking for a move soon enough. Hits a bit of grass on the inside there, so he doesn't manage to go for that move. BK in fourth, but here comes Mr. Crunk recovering back up to fourth, and BK doing a bit of weaving. Mr. Crunk is on the medium tires, so to see him so high is definitely an advantage for him, and so is an advantage for Game on Goose, who is on the hards and already up into sixth. Great start from him. He did not have the greatest of qualifying, but he's definitely made it up with his experience. One of, or maybe even along with Mr. Crunk, the only driver here on this grid to have raced in a cell before multiple times. And we've got Tomatoes, our first pitter after 6 laps of softs. He's called it quits on them, and he pits onto a set of mediums, falling down into 7th, just ahead of Joe Porsche, who's taking hards for his first stint, just like Game on Goose, who's up into the podium position. Just ahead of him are Cesar and Hyper battling for first, and that battling is allowing Game on Goose to get higher and higher up the field. Bit of lag there. Both Hyper and Cesar now pit, and with those hards, Goose is looking top of the world right now. He's in first place. Our fastest lap currently is from Tomatoes, who's managed to make his way back into second. BK on the seventh lap of softs still has not opted to pit, and Joe Porsche is up into fourth right now. He hasn't pit, neither has Mr. Crunk, who's on the mediums. We'd expect mediums to last 8-9 laps and hards to last 10 or maybe even 11, and we will have light rain going now, so that's a difficult decision for drivers to make. When it's heavy rain, you obviously go for the wets, but when it's light rain, as it enters, is it wets, or do you just stay out and hope that it's fake rain? Well, you never know. Joe Porsche has opted to pit, gets in a bit of a scuffle there with Juan, and now he's just ahead of his teammate Trixie, who's on the dry tires. Don't know what's happening there. Looks like he's having some issues. Don't know what's happened to Joe Porsche there. Game on Goose is leading, but Tomatoes is right behind him. Both of them did not pit for wet tires, and the rain looks to be going away quite quickly, so it might benefit them to have this pit stop advantage over everyone else. BK holding down the best of the rest in third right now, pitting for enters. Cesar behind him has not pit for wet tires. What has happened to Joe Porsche? We need to know. It looks like he's just completely slowed down. Is it lag? We'll have to find out later. Tomatoes is in the lead of the race right now. We're completely sunny, dry track. Game on Goose holding down second. BK is still out on the inters. He's going to have to pit onto dries soon enough, and he might be losing a position to Cesar, and maybe even a position to Trixie when he does. El Carino's pitted for a new set of softs. So Mr. Crunk, Emma Box, Tully, EK have also pitted, and Joe Porsche pitted onto softs. He's in last right now. That's very sad to see, coming from someone who was fourth before the rain hit. Really lost a lot of time in that rain. Tomatoes is holding on to that lead. Game on Goose finally pits after 11 laps. He's pitted onto softs, and that's allowed Cesar to currently hold down second, but can he keep it? He's on slightly worn mediums against Goose's very fresh softs, and Goose is already under a second behind him. So he's looking to cut down that margin, and he really does here, running like a wild bird. and he's got the slipstream on the straight, looking for a cheeky move down the inside, but he gets cut off, and they get into a bit of an incident coming out of turn 2. Goose is slightly in front now, but this is not the end just yet. Oh, no, Cesar has lost the slip, so it might as well be BK running in 4th. Great race so far for the debutant. Behind him is Trixie. Oh, sorry, Trixie also has raced SL a couple of times, so it's not just Mr. Crunk and Goose. Forgot about that. His last race came in Hockenheim. He's going into the pits right now. His softs can't take any more. And he's pitting for his second time. Hyper's already at 3 pit stops. He probably took enters or wets in the rain. Mr. Crunk says something now. 0 GFF. Don't know what that means, but him and El Carino go into the grass on the inside of turn 2. And he gets away from him. There's a giant pack right behind him that you'll probably be looking to fend off, because that is a crazy pack. If he gets lost in it, he will lose a lot of time, so he's just running ahead of it, keeping concentration on the turns ahead, not behind. Looks to have taken the final turn slowly, and here comes Emma Box and El Carino catch up. That turn 1-2 combo is really looking quite disastrous. A lot of drivers hitting the grass on that. Goose currently is in 1st, Tomatoes in 2nd. He's had to pit again for potentially a final time, I would imagine. Joe Porsche has recovered up to 11th. Not the worst recovery from going all the way down to last. BK is now in the podium place. We got Hyper Mustang in 4th, Cesar in 5th, Trixie in 6th, got ahead of Mr. Crunk in 7th, who's just slightly ahead of Emma Box himself. Emma Box looking for a move, doesn't manage to get side by side with Mr. Crunk. El Carino's running behind them, just made a mistake, and Tully is in 10th, looking to catch up to him, and there's also Joe Porsche right behind in 11th. EK in 12th, Juan 13th, Masca Bravas in 14th, and Fox currently occupies the 15th position. Here's Joe Porsche battling El Carino, both of them on softs. They survive turn 1 and 2 very clean, dare I'd say. Tomatoes. Oh, Goose has pitted and Tomatoes is back up to the lead. Just caught that just in time. Here's Tomatoes just running, chilling, and he really looks like he is the main proponent, the main contender, is the correct word, the main contender for JL champion of season 5. It's looking great last race, and he's looking great this race. He's 1 pit ahead of Goose. Goose does have the better tires though, and Tomatoes mediums are fairly worn out already, so we'll see if Goose can catch up and fight for that 1st place, but he wouldn't mind a 2nd place either. BK still holding out 3rd, was in contact with Cesar there, but we missed what happened there, but he is holding down the final podium position at the moment. Great debut so far from him. As was already said a few times, Cesar in 4th on those mediums, looking to take them to the end. Hyper Mustang. Everyone's kind of separated now. Here's Tully. He's one of the only drivers. He's the only driver in the top 11 to be running on hard right now. There's Crunk close behind him. It's very interesting because according to SL experts, hards would be the best tire, but for less experienced drivers like those in JL, they might struggle to avoid hitting grass, and then those softs give them a better advantage of that speed. So it really depends if you're better in consistency or just general, as I stole these words, can put it a 1 lap pace. Really depends on that, and now Crunk has gotten ahead of Tully quite easily on the faster set of tires. So it really does look like Joe Porsche up into 8th. Great recovery. I will be asking him what happened after the race, but seeing him in 8th, that's a pretty good job. from him. Tomatoes holding down first. Game on Goose has cut down the gap from 5 seconds to 2, but he makes a mistake here on the final turn. Was about to cut down the gap even further. We're in this penultimate lap of the race. So that might have been the race deciding mistake right there. If he can't catch up the remaining 2 seconds to Tomatoes, he's still got a lot of time to do that. Cut up a bit there. BK is in a world of his own in third. Just chilling, running till the end. Cesar's ahead of Hyper Mustang, but not by far. Then let's see, Mr. Crunk is in 6th. Tully struggling on the hards as they're now getting really worn out. And Joe Porsche is right at the back of him. There's Trixie and Emma Box too. He might drop down all the way to 10th, and Joe Porsche easily gets past him here. He's using that slipstream from Joe to his advantage though, trying to at least stay ahead of the cars battling behind, but he does make a mistake and lose his slip here and lets Trixie through on the inside. Trixie gets a penalty there though. Let's see, Tomatoes just manages, he gets it. Goose almost caught up to him there at the end. It's Tomatoes' victory again, and it's Goose in 2nd place. Really good race from both of them, and BK, our debutant, wiggling across the line in very slow fashion. And Hyper Mustang finishes 4th ahead of Cesar. Cesar got a penalty there at the end. Mr. Crunk finishes 6th. Joe Porsche in 7th. Nice recovery there. Trixie 8th. Emma Box 9th. Tully drops down to 10th, so hards weren't the right choice at the end for these drivers. El Carino 11th. Juan 12th, I think. Masca. EK finishes 14th. And Fox is right about to finish last in true Fox style. Doesn't get to the finish line. But nice race. Tomatoes wins once again for Furvard, and Emma Box, the owner, will be very happy with that. Goose takes the fastest lap, really chasing down Tomatoes at the end there and nearly got him. If there was a few more laps, they could have battled for that victory. Great debut from BK. And that's pretty much the race. There was a bit of lag here and there. That's a bit of a shame, but overall, very good race. And we'll see you next time for Kemi Ring in Finland. That's all.